Hello and welcome to another episode of the In Between Podcast. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Hello there and welcome to another episode of the In Between Podcast with your host as always, Kyle McLemore. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh man, mouth is so watery because rocking my iced Americano thanks to the new sponsor of the podcast, not really, Dunkin' Donuts, because the In Between Podcast runs on Dunkin'. Not really, please don't sue me, but a special shout out to Dunkin' for offering me the same exact coffee I get from Starbucks for half the price. This is actually a small, which is actually the same size as a medium. I think the first time I went to Dunkin', I got a large, and it's like this fucking big. I was like, not a large. I got a medium, and it was like the size of a large. And I just was like, God damn, I can't drink that much coffee, Dunkin'. But yeah, Starbucks, what the hell? I had no idea that they were charging the hell out of me for the same exact coffee, but now that I got this Dunkin' close to home, you know I'll be going there a whole lot more. Hang on one second. Oh yeah. Yeah, sure, I could edit out that sip or two, but then you'd miss out on the authenticity of this podcast. That's what makes it real life, is you get to see every sip. That's right, I could cut away right here, but I'm not gonna. I want you here for every sip. But yeah, thank you so much, Dunkin'. And thank you so much for tuning in. We've got some exciting news. Let's hit it with some exciting music. That's right, the In Between Podcast and all other... Well, it's just the In Between Podcast right now, but, we are available. Do you like this podcast? Do you enjoy watching and listening to this podcast? Are you a big fan of the In Between Podcast, but you hate looking at my face? Do you enjoy this podcast, but you just can't stand the sight of my face? Well, you're in luck, because the In Between Podcast is now streaming audio only on wherever you get your podcasts. Hopefully where you get your podcast is Spotify, because we're definitely on Spotify. We're also on I'd have to double check, but there's 4 or 5 different ones, iHeartRadio maybe, and Dozer or whatever that other one is, Podcast Addict or whatever. I think almost all of them, except for iTunes, I want to say, and Apple Music. I want to say that we even got it on Amazon Music. Not Apple yet. Got to do a whole Apple account and set it up through there, but like I said, if you're sick of looking at this face, but you can't get enough of this voice, well then head on over to wherever you get your podcast and feel free to follow and like and download. And well, you know what? When you do audio, it's rate. So follow and rate and download. It's much appreciated. And hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as watching. It's pretty awesome, actually, to be able to look up the podcast on Spotify. It feels very official. It feels very professional. But yeah, so if you happen to be on Spotify, go ahead and add us to your likes and listens, and it's much appreciated. What else is new? I wanted to talk as well about how clearly rocking some Kings gear, the great LA Kings, a little bit of, not even a little bit, it's a major bummer in LA Kings news. The one and only Jonathan Quick, unfortunately, being traded. It's one of those things where it's like, oh man, does that hurt? Oh man, does that hurt my heart? But my head understands. I get it. Logically, I get it, but still, you're breaking my heart. So logically, yeah, in terms of professional athletes, Jonathan Quick is getting up there in age, late 30s, which is basically a senior citizen in professional sports. Not as fast as he was, not as it just, happens to literally everyone. Like, you're not going to be prime time forever. But, man, does it hurt to see him go, man. First of all, Jonathan Quick. Can we appreciate how it's probably the greatest name in hockey? Jonathan Quick, especially for, like, a goalie. Jonathan Quick. Best hockey name ever. He's also the man. He was like prime time. I think I looked. They were showing his stats. Huge foundation for why they were like back-to-back champions in the first place. And then you add that into like all his other stats, like 50-something complete shutouts. Like didn't let anybody score once. Like shut out, dude. Jonathan Quick will always go down as one of the all-time great teams. It's I keep saying a little, it's a huge bummer that he's being like traded mid-season too. So it's like he doesn't even get like a cool goodbye home game, you know what I mean? Like the fans don't even get to say sayonara before he's like already out of here. Really, really a bummer, especially for such a amazing player like Jonathan Quick. But, hey, overall, team's still doing really good this year. I think last time I checked the standings, they were number 2, just behind the Vegas Knights, which are always tough to beat. Knights are always doing good. But the season's still going on, still got plenty of games ahead. I don't know who's going to replace him as goalie. Talked about some big hockey pads to fill. Like, man, Jonathan Quick, all time, man, all time. Hopefully, I'm sure they're going to retire his jersey for sure. I know that they did a statue for Dustin Brown, who also is like all time fucking the man, Dustin Brown. Also a big bummer when he retired last year. But oh, yeah, they give him a statue and everything, so it's like, if Dustin Brown and Jonathan, same level, dude, same exact level of deserving awesomeness, so it's like, if you're doing a statue of Dustin Brown, there better be a statue of Jonathan Quick out there as well. Man, yeah, all time, super cool. Other stuff I wanted to talk about, dip a little toe into upcoming movies, because got that new Creed coming out, which I am definitely going to see. And speaking of Jordan, why can I never, Michael B. Jordan, there we go. Speaking of MBJ in the new Creed, have you guys heard the big news about his next project, which is also kind of like a revival project for somebody else? That's right, it's I Am Legend 2, which is, boy, I have a whole Santa bag full of mixed like feelings on this one. So let's start with like, I don't know, what the good part of what I'm looking forward to. Like, all right, so I Am Legend, like, I Am Legend, well, okay, so let's take it to the origin, all right? I Am Legend, like the original source material, like the book, is probably my all-time favorite book. That's tough to say. Not all time, but it is like top 5. Top 5 favorite books I have ever read in my life. I vividly remember discovering that book because the first time I ever saw that book, it was in my friend's garage. We're just like, I don't know, I just stumbled upon this book, and I remember the cover. Throw that fucking cover art up there. Boom! Because it's the greatest cover art for a book ever. It's just a fucking ocean of vampires, and it's just like, oh man, the last dude on Earth, and the entire Earth is filled with vampires. Such an amazing book, such an amazing classic, has been made into a movie like 7 different times, and each one is god-awful. I will say that out of all the movies made, it's like Omega Man and like all these other weird, there's one like from the 70s and stuff. All terrible, all not good, all very like not even close to the source material, which is like insulting. But I will say that the best out of all of them is probably I Am Legend, the Will Smith version, which even that is very like average. Like I remember seeing it for sure in theaters. I 100% saw it in theaters because, I just said it was my favorite book. So hell yeah, I'm going to go see the movie version. And there we go. So perfect timing on that one. Just after I got done being this whole big old thing about talking about how I could cut it, but I'm not gonna because this podcast is all about one nice long cut. Having said that, what's better than starting a podcast and then having all the dogs outside lose their minds and start barking all together? That's right, they only do it literally anytime I'm trying to record. Now, what was I talking about? Try to get things back on track? Oh, that's right, I Am Legend. Oh, man, yeah, I saw it in theaters. It's also one of those things where it's like, it strays from the source material. Like, I kind of remember them being vampires a little bit, but they also had, like, more like a zombie vibe. Like, they were just, like, these weird CGI zombies, and the CGI would really come through when they would like yell. So I remember, like, it's funny the things you can't remember and the things that really stick in your mind. Like, I remember the main zombie guy being like, "Raw," and like his mouth opening an insane amount, and like it just looked weird. Like, and then the other thing that really stands out of that movie is his dog dying, and he has to like smother it to death, which is like a 3-minute scene of just like great, like, which is also what's making me not want to rewatch it again. Like, I don't want to get all reattached to that German Shepherd just to get my heart shattered when Will Smith has to like put it in a headlock and kill it because it gets like bitten or whatever. And it's interesting too, making a sequel when I'm pretty sure in the original cut, he dies. I think, spoiler alert, I think at the end of the movie, he's got like a grenade, and I think they're all trying to get into the room, and he's just like, blows everybody up. I think there's like a deleted scene that it's like an alternate ending where he kind of like makes it through, I guess. And so I guess for the sequel, they're going with that alternate ending where Will Smith is still alive and he's teaming up with Michael B. Jordan somehow. It's interesting. It's also interesting that this is probably Will Smith's biggest project since the slappening. Since the slap heard round the world. And it's like, it's still like, I'm still affected by the slap. I can't even imagine Chris Rock if I'm still feeling the effects of the slap. Anytime I ever watch anything Will Smith related, I can't even like listen to Will Smith music. When's the last dude? Anytime I put on Getting Jiggy with It, it's like I cannot. All I think about is just him slapping Chris Rock. If I try to watch anything, I'm trying to think of what like the last Will Smith movie I watched. I don't know, Men in Black. If I try to watch anything with Will Smith, it's like I can't watch it because all I can think about is how weird it was when he slapped Chris Rock, and how, man, talk about the fascinating. It's so interesting how like a person can cultivate a image as like, Will Smith, dude. Like he was Will Smith, which is basically like a category of a person as like just really cool, super positive. Like there was nothing that you could say or like point to that was like negative about Will Smith, and in one blinding like flash, he just like, and all of that is just like erased, and it's like, oh, so you're actually kind of like insane and like kind of a dick, and like also like what's going on with your lady, bro? Like it's just like this whole just explosion of Pandora's box that opened up when he slapped him, and it's just like, man. I remember there's like a great video of like Jada Pinkett is like filming him. What was she asking him? She's like, why don't you tell the world how we like blah 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 blah, and he's just like, so I worked really hard on like my public persona, and so maybe don't just like ambush me with a camera. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, I'm not ready for this. Like, stop. So, man, a whole career of just being perfectly in control and just everything nice and neat and calculated, and then just one weird, crazy night where you slap somebody and just all goes out the window. And it comes back to, like, I'm not excited about I Am Legend 2. Like, I think I probably would be, but just thinking about, like, I just am not. Is it weird that, like, I'm just not interested in seeing Will Smith stuff? Because it's just like, instead of seeing him as cool, funny, chill, awesome Will Smith, I just see him as, like, unstable, in a weird relationship, like, clearly is going through some shit to where, like, he just has to stand up and slap somebody. So it just, like, I don't know, it just echoes, it just brings me back to that night. And it's like, I can't enjoy him being, like, in Men in Black when all I can think about is him just, like, having a mental breakdown and slapping Chris Rock. Like, I can't enjoy it when I know that he's got, like, major problems going on behind the scenes. Like, if anything, I just want, like, I don't know, I wouldn't mind, like, a documentary or something. Let's go behind the scenes. Like, let's see what's going on in that. Or you know what, maybe it's better just to leave it at that. Like, I don't know, maybe once you peek behind the curtain, it's like, once you see it, you can't unsee whatever's going on back there. Jada Pinkett getting railed by all these dudes or whatever. That'd be tough on anybody, let alone Will Smith. But I Am Legend 2, on its way, plenty more German Shepherds to get attached to. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know where they're going to go with it. He's just, still surviving, I guess. Finds another dude and they bro out. We'll see. I don't know. But then we also have that new Scream movie coming out too. Scream 6. And then talk about a franchise that just really, like, snuck by and, like, just picked up steam out of nowhere. Just like, man, blinked and all of a sudden they're at 6. I don't think I've seen past, like, 3. I can't even remember 3. I barely can remember, like, 2. The one that really sticks in my head is number 1, like, the OG. And can we just take a moment to, like, tip of the hat to Mr. Wes Craven for being, like, all time, like, not all of his stuff is great, right? Like, he's got some weird movies, but the ones that work are amazing, and one that really works is Scream. Like, first of all, let's give it up to Wes Craven for pulling off something that's, like, probably impossible to do today, and is, like, borderline impossible when he did it. Like, he was probably, like, the last dude that could have gotten away with it. To do something so fucking, like, Alfred Hitchcockian, like, to be like, dude, that movie was sold as, like, Drew Barrymore is the fucking main character in this movie. When you pull up the poster, her fucking headshot is the biggest one on the poster. Dude, they did an amazing misdirect of, like, really being like, oh, check out this Drew Barrymore chick. She's, like, this new up-and-comer. She's going to be the main star of this, like, slasher film. And then, boom, first 5 minutes of the movie, she's fucking brutally murdered. It's just like, oh shit, that is, like, the closest to the opening scene of Psycho that any movie will ever get to. It is so impossible to have a twist that in, like, a huge misdirect like that right at the beginning of the film, to market it, like, have all the poster and everything. Like, it is insane. Crazy that he was able to pull it off, and it is, like, that, I think that's what makes that movie so fucking killer, is, like, man, it's hard to appreciate it now, looking back to it's like, how do you not know about Drew Barrymore, right, with her fucking bowl cut? Like, that scene is so iconic now. It's so iconic that, like, the Scary Movie franchise, like, blasted from those films, which is also, like, I feel like what kind of hurts the Scream franchise is it, like, the Scary Movie franchise was so fucking good that, like, it actually kind of hurt Scream a little bit. Like, Scream was fucking scary, dude. That's, like, legit crazy psycho. Like, that part where they're stabbing each other at the end to, like, set it up, like, that is, like, legit psycho, real craziness. Like it had that touch of realness where you're just like, oh, this is, like, we're dipping a toe into reality, and it's like getting a little off-putting. But yeah, to have something that good, and then it's just like, ooh, man, Scary Movie was so fucking great too that like it it like made the Scream mask almost not as scary, because like, you know, that whole part where he's like, they have like the stoned one, like the Scream face all stoned, like it takes away some of the menacingness. But yeah, like I said, I haven't seen like so many of the Scream movies. I would have no clue what is going on now that they're in the big city, ba-da-da, New York, New York. But I'm probably gonna still see it. I am gonna try to do like a rewatch of like, you know, I'll try to do like 1 through 5, and it's probably gonna be brutal. Is what's her name even in Sits? Nev Campbell, is she even alive in the franchise? Like, I literally don't know. Like, I know Courtney Cox is like, Courtney Cox? Or is it Courtney? Man. Ugh. This only ever happens, like, literally when I'm recording. What's that guy's name? The guy who's like the cop? David... something with an A, dude. All right, I gotta look it up because it's gonna make me want to blow my brains out. Scream. Because it's Courtney Cox. Arquette. Before I even have to look it up, boom, I knew it was an A. David Arquette, Courtney Arquette. I think they got married. Whatever. I know that Courtney Arquette or Courtney Cox, whatever she goes by, she's in the new one. So I know that her character lives. I don't know if David Arquette, Jamie Kennedy? Does Jamie Kennedy die? I don't know. Yeah, this is like good reasons why I guess I need to rewatch the old ones. Because I'm pretty sure if I went into the Sits, I'd probably be lost as hell unless they're doing like a clean cut. Like, all right, boom, let's get out of wherever those movies were set and let's move to the Big Apple and start like a whole new franchise. It's interesting. We'll see. We'll see how it looks. Also saw the trailer for Haunted Mansion, Disney's newest film coming out, Haunted Mansion, which is one of those ones that's like so tricky, Disney. You really have to walk a fucking tightrope with that. 'Cause it's like, it's a Disney movie, so we're marketing it mostly towards children, but it's also about like a haunted mansion. So it's like, you want it to be scary and full of ghosts, but you don't want to traumatize children. And I feel like, you know, you try to capture the ride, right? The ride is a good, perfect, down the middle of like, this isn't too scary or like morbid, but it's also, you know, not too silly and ridiculous. It's like right in that sweet spot. And this upcoming movie looks like it's also digging right into that sweet spot. Man, I cannot remember the first one, the Eddie Murphy one. I remember it not being good. I remember not enjoying it. I feel like the fact that I haven't seen it in like, when did it come out? 10 years ago? The fact that it's never popped up since then is a good sign that it's not that great. This one, however, looks very promising. I mean, just the cast alone. Let's look up the cast, because I know that for sure it's starring Rosario Dawson, which is like, all right, you're starting on the right foot. Haunted. Can't type and podcast at the same time. Haunted Mansion. There we go. Okay, so yeah, Rosario Dawson, who, this just got even better. So Rosario Dawson, who I already knew about, because she's in the trailer. And then Lakeith Stanfield, who's like, dude, anything that guy is in is golden. So it's like, hell yeah, throw him in the mix as well. There's some interesting people who don't show up in the trailer. I mean, Danny DeVito does, who it's like, as soon as I saw Danny DeVito, I'm like, boom, you got me. Boom, you got me. All you had to do was throw in Danny DeVito and you got my money. Like, I'm so sold on Danny DeVito. Owen Wilson, I was also pretty sold on. Anytime you throw in Owen Wilson, I'll fucking go see it. Wow. I'm down, dude. But this, which I didn't know until right now, really sells it, because you could have taken away the Danny DeVito, take away the Owen Wilson, and this still sells it. And this is that Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be Madame Leota, which I'm assuming is the floating head fortune teller lady, but Jamie Lee Curtis as the floating head fortune teller lady? Fuck yeah, dude. Jamie Lee Curtis as whatever the fuck you want to do. Anything you do, I'm down, Jamie Lee, because JLC is the best. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Let's see who it's directed by. Justin Simeon, who's known for Dear White People and Bad Hair. All right, it's not a bunch of filmography, but it looks promising. It looks very cool. It looks like it is walking that tightrope of, like, Disney, but still spooky Disney. So hopefully it's good. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you so much for tuning in for the In Between podcast. I've been trying to stretch out the time, and I think I did pretty good on this one. I was really taking it easy on myself. Like, I was doing like a hard 15 minutes, and then I started kind of slacking and like doing like 10 minutes, but I'm really trying to push it to 25 minimum. 25 to 30 is right in that sweet spot. So thank you so much for tuning in. As we said at the beginning, hey, you don't like this face, but you like this voice. Well, hey, check us out on Spotify. Check us out wherever you download your podcast. And if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. It's much appreciated. I am your host, as always, Kyle McLemore, and we'll see you next time on the pod.